Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order with a Pledge of Allegiance at 6:31. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
and to the republic
Nation,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being held remotely in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law GLC 30A Section 20. And on March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed a supplemental 2023 budget bill allowing remote and hybrid meeting options for public bodies through March 31st, 2025. This meeting is being recorded. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. We're going to start off. The first item on our agenda is to continue with our department budget meetings. And we have 4 budgets this evening: conservation, town clerk, recreation, and the building department. We're going to start off with conservation because that is a very small and quick budget. And Paul, if you could introduce yourself, and thank you very much for coming tonight. Always appreciated.
Sure. Thanks. I'm Paul Johnson. I'm the chairman of Conservation Commission. I think now for 12 years, maybe longer. I'm not sure. But our budget is, we have two staff members. We have a full-time agent and a full-time clerk. All total, our total budget with office supplies and everything is $138,688. We give back $20,000 a year out of our wetlands fees to the town to put towards salaries, and we also give back the money from soil permits and RDAs, which off the top of my head, I believe it's around $7,000. So we give back about $27,000 out of the $138,000. Other than that, our budget is very it's very simple. It's payroll, overtime, educational incentive, basically everything that's contractual. Other than that, we have about $6,470 in office expenses with postage and office supplies and mileage for our agent, and that's pretty much all we consist of.
Thank you, Paul. Looking at your budget, it looks as though there's no discrepancies with the town administrator, and as you said, it's pretty much last year's budget. Looking ahead, so nothing stands out. Does anyone have any? And we appreciate you coming in. As little as this seems, we as a finance committee like to touch base with everyone every year just to make sure that everyone's in agreement with their budget. And so we appreciate your coming in here to do that. So Cindy, go ahead. You've got a question. Go ahead. You're on mute, Cindy, I think.
Sorry. Hi, Paul. Cindy Brown. I'm vice chair of the finance committee. Do you see if is there any opportunity for you to increase your fees so that you would bring in more revenue to the town? How comparable are the fees for our conservation permits versus other towns? Do you know?
We did a fee review this year, Chris Capone and myself. We're in line with a lot of the local towns. Dartmouth is probably one of the highest towns around, and I think some of their fees are a little bit too high, to be honest with you. I think our fees are pretty fair. We have a split fee system for commercial versus residential because obviously we don't want to impact the individual taxpayer as much as, let's say, a developer who's going to spread it out over 8, 10, 12 lots, whatever the case may be. But no, we do a fee review every couple of years. We did go up a couple of years ago, our fees. But they're pretty much aligned with area towns. We look at towns like Fairhaven, Acushnet. Dartmouth is obviously a little bit bigger than us, but we try to keep it in line with everybody else.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions for Paul? Paul, I think you've got the easiest budget, so we appreciate you coming.
All right. Well, everybody, good luck and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So the next budget is, let's do, I think Dana Stewart is here from Recreation. Dana, can you pop on next, introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I turned in a packet of sorts that has a lot of information. I hope you all had a chance to review it. But just looking at the general account that we have, it is also very simple. It just consists of the salary and $2,000 for general expenses that were given to us last fiscal year. And that is it. The salary is, I'm still at 30 hours a week. I'm the only staff. And then everything else is, all the revenue is earned through our recreation revolving account through the fees that we charge for our recreation programs, through the gym rentals, which have increased over the years, and also through grants that I try to get and receive. And as well as Community Preservation Commission has been very generous in helping us with our playgrounds, as well as other donations and grants.
Great.
Yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, in the packet, I did give just like, it's just kind of what I like to do for my revolving account is like a one sheet at a glance. You know, I know it's a lot of info, but I've tried to simplify it as best I can. But for this fiscal year so far for the recreation revolving, we've brought in a total revenue of $15,203.33. So that's all through our recreation programs that we offer and our gym rentals. And then that included with the money that revolves over is a healthy balance of around $100,000, give or take. And then with our grants, we've been, like I said, very lucky to get some good grants. The most significant one being the latest from an anonymous foundation of $500,000 so that we can replace our annex playground, which is very much appreciated and so generous. And then we also received $5,000 from the Disability Commission to the Recreation Department. And that was so that we could better serve people with disabilities in our program. I could hire aides to work with children in our camps who might need that more one-on-one attention. And I could get adaptive equipment and things of that nature. The Disability Commission has been very supportive of what we do. And I'm actually applying for another grant that is coming up here and due in February for possible $10,000 to do an outdoor recreation event for persons with disabilities and their families. So we're hopeful that we're going to get that. And I'm working with CPAC and 21 Friends to kind of organize that. In addition, we've gotten Helen E. Ellis grants for our summer concerts, outdoor summer concerts, and our outdoor movie nights. And we'll be reapplying for that as well this year. So the total grants and funds to date, or, you know, we haven't received all the grants yet, but they're pending, is $514,000. And then with CPC funding, I did check with our accounting department and what we had left for CPC for hopefully continue to do some fixes in our annex gym, as well as the outdoor back area. And also including the $350,000 that we have to help replace the annex playground. And that total was $362,442.25 that we still have left to use for those improvements. So we have a healthy recreation revolving account going right now. I feel very confident that we can continue this way. Our supplies, I'm very frugal with what we buy. Right now, our total expenses are just $27,000, $150 around that. And that includes like paying the staff that work the program, the contracted staff, and getting supplies, and also basically everything that helps run our department. So we get our recreation software that runs our website and does online registrations, you know, just everything needed to run a department. And then we also have a gift or donation account. Right now, I believe we have $1,250 in that. So that's kind of there if we need it. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I just want to just thank you, Dana. I'm sure you hear lots of committee meetings talking about our fiscal budget, right?
Yes.
And the situation that the town is in. And we keep always having to talk about potential cuts and potential this. And I'm sure you always hear the recreation department always comes up in that conversation. And it's not because the recreation department isn't valued, right? It's we do value you. And I think you never even come close to making the cut because the contributions that you make to the town are enormous and it's greatly appreciated. So sorry if you keep hearing your department come up.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that feedback. I do hear that, and all I can do is do my best in what I'm hired to do. And I think the response of the town has been very positive. So I'll just continue to do that.
Absolutely. We keep doing everything that we can to maintain every service that the department has, that the town has, and certainly recreation is valuable. So I just want, to personally thank you for everything that you do for the town. And it's such a great community events that you put together. So thank you for that. Thank you. So Cindy, you've got your hand up.
Yes. So I know that it has been raised a couple of times by the beach committee that perhaps having you included, and you've noted it in your memo as well, about perhaps including some of those responsibilities, mainly managing the beach crew staff, which is a very difficult thing to do if we don't have a very senior lifeguard that's on duty on a daily basis. So what are your thoughts on that?
There have been discussions between myself, the town administrator, the beach committee chair, as well as the recreation commission. I've been keeping apprised of our discussions. I think I am willing and able to help with the beaches. I think I do an excellent job, as proven how I helped out with them this past spring into the summer when they didn't have any guards, and I helped them out in that way. I think the challenge though is time. I'm a 30-hour employee, and the budget that helps fund the rec department is all through the revenue of our programs, events, and gym rentals. So if I have to, I guess, stop doing some of that to help with the beaches at my 30 hours, I am concerned that that would affect our revenue for the recreation department. So as I said in the memo, I think, there just needs to be a little more thought toward how to organize it. And, being a department head, I feel confident that I could run it, but how do we work that out, basically?
Okay, thank you.
Gary, I think that's you. You're next with your hand up.
Yeah.
Yes.
please.
So, go ahead, you. I'll go after
Go
you.
Gary, go ahead.
So, Diana, this $500,000, is that a grant or is that a donation?
It's in the agreement, it was named as a grant, but in essence, it is a donation from a private foundation that wants to remain anonymous.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I know. So that is only for the construction or reconstruction of the playground, nothing else.
Correct. It's to help with the total funds of demolishing the current playground, prepping the land for the new playground, the cost of the equipment and installation for the new playground, as well as new fencing around that area.
Yeah. So, so it'd be like a reimbursable grant once we start the work on it. But
no, actually, so there's going to be two installments. One of $350,000 that we are intended to receive at the end of January, and then another installment of $200,000, I believe, to receive in April. And in the agreement, it was stated that if there's, we'll stay in communication in case anything changes with, the timeline of such with the installation and equipment and everything like that.
That's unbelievable, because I remember back, I've been on this committee for a while already. And I don't want to say that the recreation was pretty much non-existent, but it was close to it. And I think that over the last 5 years, this department has become an integral part of the town. and it's just, it proves to the fact that it was needed. There's a need there. So, and I'm glad that you've identified a lot of the programs that we didn't have 5-10 years ago. So you guys do a great job.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm really pleased with the progress, and we'll continue to move forward.
Thanks.
Hugh, you're next. Did you have?
Yes, I just think it's worthwhile pointing out, we all know that at this point, that the funds involved don't come out of the operating budget. You have the grant to start with, 500,000 from private money, but also I think it's 350 from CPC. There are only 3 categories of things that CPC money can be used for. Operating is not one of them, and this is, so that when people see the money going into the ground and making a nice new playground, they may think that's coming out of the school budget, the police, whatever. It isn't, because it couldn't be used for those purposes. I know you all know all that, but I think it's worthwhile mentioning, because it may not be obvious to people who are watching.
Thank you, Hugh. Christopher, you've got your hand up.
I do. Thank you, ma'am. So I actually would like to follow up on Hugh's point before I get to just a couple of questions I had. So the CPC funding is limited, but it is limited because of a vote of the town meeting. Is that correct? So,
No,
or is that
it's because
it is?
it's not town meeting simply voted to join the program. The parameters set by the state statutes.
Understood. Okay, that does clarify what I was thinking there. Okay, so my question is the CPC, the 350 for the CPC grant, is that that 500,000 is a completely separate donation? So in total, we're talking about 850,000 for playground improvement. Is that correct?
Correct. And it was our intention to split, and I believe the intention of the CPC committee, or the funds that were voted on at town meeting, to be used between both town playgrounds. So that would be the Annex Playground and the Bicentennial Playground. So our plan is to split those funds and to do that, and then use the 500,000 to help finish the Annex Playground, and then any rest of those funds through CPC or the donation or / grant would go toward helping the Bicentennial Playground. We do have plans to apply for a grant through Bay Coast Bank, as well as possible other avenues. Right now, as the Recreation Commission is talking about ideal design plans, but we have to approach the different playground companies to see if they can come up with some mock-ups of our ideas. And so we're in the beginning works of trying to replace that playground as well, which is very much needed.
Excellent. Just to follow up, just to clarify just a little bit on the timeline. So at this point, designs, it's still kind of in the brainstorming phase, so to speak. There have not been architectural plans drawn up as of yet. Is that correct?
For Bicentennial Park, the Annex Park is done. So that plan has been drawn up. The design and quote was finished and signed off on. So that we're just basically waiting on the supplies, which for the playground, which we have been told could come in anytime this winter into the spring, most likely this winter. And the playground company is going to hold the equipment for us in their warehouse until installation.
Okay, and there is, at this point, the installation realistically is spring is when the installation for the.
Yes,
Okay.
Our hope is that we're going to be working with a company to help demolish the current playground and prep the land for the new one. We've not yet signed off on that because we're doing our due diligence of getting various quotes. Tim Gillespie on my Recreation Commission is helping with that, as well as same with the fencing. He actually got several quotes for the fencing. We were able to bring that price down with another company. So we're going to be talking about that at our next meeting in February for the Recreation Commission. But all in all, things are progressed and going to be happening. We really hope that the demo and prep of the land could hopefully be done in like late March, early April. And, you know, but we're not sure yet. A lot of it is weather dependent. and when they are ready to do the work too. And then we really hope to install the new playground in either late April or early May. So we should have a grand opening. I'm very hopeful to have a grand opening sometime in May or beginning of June if needed.
Okay. And is there, based on the estimates that have been provided for the annex playground, do you have any idea of the number of the dollar amount of funds that would be left over? Again, hypothetically speaking, should everything go according to plan, what funds would be left over for the bicentennial?
Sure. We estimated there'd be about 20,000 left over to go toward a bicentennial, I believe. That's from the 500,000 possibly. And then again, half of the 350 would go to that too. So we would have a good healthy start to it. But I have gotten a letter of interest from Baycoast Bank's or I think it was president or CEO. So I have that, and I've been meaning to reapproach them and talk numbers with them too about the bicentennial project. It was kind of one of my goals for the new year.
Understood. Okay. And then I just had another question about the gym rentals that you've been doing with the annex. So what can you just elaborate on what programs or what entities have been renting that?
Sure. The majority of people, it's for birthday parties. In this town, there aren't a lot of facilities for families to hold birthday parties for their children. And if there are, they're very expensive, such as like a bouncy house place or even bowling can add up if you have a lot of kids. So they use the gym. They rent the gym from us, and they do all the setup, all the cleanup, and they do their own party. They just use the space. So we charge, and we've been charging this since I pretty much started. I think when I started, because they were renting the gym here and there through the Lucy Tabbitt, who used to have Paula Brown's job. She, I think, was doing it before I came on. And so those documents were passed on to me. So we grandfathered some people in, I think, from that in the beginning. But since then, pretty much everyone has been new. So again, like people for birthday parties, we have a New Bedford Coin Show that does it several times throughout the year. We have basketball, usually groups of guys who want to play basketball with their friends. Right now I have a consistent rental on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and then we also offer a drop-in adult basketball program through our rec department on Friday nights. Then we just rented it for a good amount of time up until end of March for indoor soccer practice, for travel soccer. Again, like in the winter months, there's not many spaces available. So someone was interested in that. So, and then of course, the Westport Farmers Market, when they do it inside in the gym, they are charge that fee, as well as we do a flat rate of just $50 so they can use the gym bathrooms and electricity when they do it outside in the parking lot.
Okay, excellent. All right, so I may have some other questions for you on another committee, perhaps, and questions about utilizing perhaps the gym in the old high school at some point in time. But for right now, as far as for these purposes go, that answers my question. So thank you very much for the time.
You're welcome. And I would love to utilize that gym. I think it's just been a challenge of how to do that.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you. Alice, you have your hand up.
Excuse me. Hi.
Hi.
A couple of quick, one question, one comment. First of all, I'm very supportive of the recreation, especially the playground. I remember decades ago, my father and I were approached, and the one that's going to be torn down, which needs to be torn down in Central Village, I think we supported about 50% of it. So there's no question that it's needed. The time has come to change and everything else. So that's one thing that you said. Pardon me, I'm still coughing from the stupid COVID. Dana, is you mentioned $514,000 in it, which I would suggest that if it was a misspeak, that's great. I misspeak all the time. But
Sure.
if part of the accounting, you may want to separate that, because you cannot rely on the generosity of a private institution or CPC for that matter. So I would just, to make it cleaner so that the people understand, my opinion is to separate that out category, might be and as important and as necessary as it might be, because it doesn't give a true reflection of, to the townspeople that, my God, they've got $114,000 in the.
Correct.
So I'll just toss that out as something you want to consider.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm sorry if I wasn't clear in my description of it. In my spreadsheet, I do have it separated out as just grants, funds, CPC. However, those are not, as you mentioned, helping with the operation of the rec department. It's really just used so that we can improve our facilities for recreation purposes, per se.
Thank you. You all set, Hugh, Lee, Al?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you.
All right.
I'm
Thank
coughing.
you.
I don't want to bore everybody else with it.
All right, thank you. Cindy, you've got your hand up.
Hi, Dana.
Hi.
So Christopher kind of brought this up, and it is a much broader conversation for another time. But as we're all aware on this call, the fate of the future of the annex building is unknown. The improvements to the property there are greatly needed, well appreciated, very much appreciated. We'll put a little bit of an anchor onto that property, unless there's an easy line of demarcation that could separate that playground property away from the annex, if something were to be done with the annex in the future. And I'm not saying anything could be or would be. Don't know. We don't know what that is. And that's kind of the issue here, is that we don't know what the future holds for the annex, a building that has certainly provided the town with far many more years than what its useful life has been. But nonetheless, we continue to use it. So, that poses a potential issue that now the town will definitely be cemented to that property to some degree. Although you can kind of see where you could draw that line at the parking lot. And if they were to have some disposition of the annex, which would hopefully mean that you would be able to use the gym at another building, wink, wink, the old high school, if that were to happen. Do you see that would be a big problem if the annex were separated at some point?
So unfortunately, I don't know the future with that.
Right. None of us do, right?
At this point, it's unknown. So I'm operating under the facts of today, which is the annex building is used by the recreation department with the gym and the outdoor back areas, as well as the playground. My hope would be that any decisions that would be made in the future regarding that building, that they would take into account that the town has put in money to improve that playground and to maybe have that continue to be a town playground for the community. I guess it all depends on what the town decides to do with that building eventually. I don't know.
Right. But certainly, I mean, the Recreation Commission, your committee is certainly well aware of that potential, right?
We are aware, but
Okay.
it's my understanding.
No one knows no one knows what's going to happen. But
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Hugh, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to offer was that I think Albert seemed to indicate some thought of whether the funds showing on the balance sheet are potentially in jeopardy in some way or other. CPC is in the bank. I mean, the town has approved it. The committee approved it. It is solid gold. Howard can speak to the reliability of the foundation in question, because I know he's had various dealings with it here and there, but I think you'll find he say the same thing.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions for Dana? Dana, I think we, whoops, nope. I don't think anyone has any other questions for you. Appreciate your coming out tonight. Thank you very much. We're not out. Hopefully you got to stay in, right? So you didn't go out. We
All right.
appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you and the work that you do. I also want to invite any of you to contact me at any time if you have any further questions about the Recreation Department and all of our goals and things that we're working on. I'd be happy to speak with you in person, email, or phone call. No problem.
Great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Okay, so next up, we will do the town clerk's budget. And Kristen, I think, we've got you to, so I didn't recognize your phone number because you're, are you Ralph?
Yeah,
Hi, Ralph. Do you mind?
how you doing?
Good. We have two more budgets to do. We've got yours and the town clerk. Are you in a hurry to leave? I don't know if we should take you first or if you can hold on for
Well,
another.
I've got somewhere to go in about a half hour.
Okay.
That's
Kristen,
fine with me.
do you mind holding out for a little bit, Kristen? All right.
No, it's fine.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So we will do the building department next. Thank you. Ralph, if you could introduce yourself and tell us about what's happening in the building department.
Ralph Sue, the building commissioner, town of Westport. I oversee the construction of new homes, repair of new homes, work on new homes and commercial buildings. We don't have a big commercial base, but I do have to deal with it just the same. My budget is pretty straightforward. It's salaries, which from what I see, the town administrator recommends that it go forward. As of last year, January 1st to December 31st, I issued 1,060 permits. We turned in on the building side, $435,224 to the town. With the other departments, the wire inspector turned in $123,616. The gas inspections totaled up to $27,935 turned into the town. The plumbing inspector was $37,940, and the total back to the town from the department was $624,755. That's building and revolving accounts.
Thank you, Ralph. Maybe when you get a chance, if you could email us all of those statistics,
Okay.
that'd be great for us to have
Okay.
in our records too. Ralph, I know we've talked for a number of years, right? That the volume that you're doing, it's hard to compare. Are you busier this year than you've been in the past?
Well, again, this year was a little less than the year before. The year before I did about 1,100 permits. This year I did 1,060. Well, I'm talking 23 compared to 22. So far this year, 2024, I'm only into it for not even 7 days, and I'm already at 24 permits out, with some being put into Board of Health and Conservation for their review before they come back to me. So I don't see it really slowing down much at all, because Westport's a desirable place. People want to come here. People are coming here to buy houses. From what I understand, 3 down at the Point have changed hands, and the proposal to be worked on. There's other properties that are constantly changing hands. there's not as many subdivisions going through, but just the properties changing hands and the extensive renovations of the homes and even the knockdowns and rebuilds are happening. So it's busy. Plus, that's not including, the zoning, because I'm also the zoning officer of the town. So you're dealing with the zoning of the town, and which can be tricky to deal with, because even though they had the requalification, which kind of cleaned up some of it, I think it's got to go a step further and clean up more of it, because there's places where it contradicts in the zoning bylaws. So you just make your call and that's it. You get challenged once in a while, but you have to make the call based on the information you've got.
Ralph, I know you're always on our discussion list of needing or requesting an assistant for you. And as you know, the funds haven't been there for us as a town to be able to support that. And I think the town administrator, has an assistant building inspector on his very short list of, if we could, you would be right in line with, I think, some dollars. But so as of right now, you're the sole person in your department, right? You have no assistant, no.
Correct. I've been operating Westport solo since 2007 when John McNally resigned. They've never put an assistant in the position.
Does anyone have any questions for Ralph? Go ahead, Al.
No, I don't have a question as much as a comment. And Ralph represents one of almost every department head and person in this town that are unsung heroes. And I want to say that. I mean, Ralph and I have had a good long-term relationship, and I'm sure many of you as well. And it's sad that in today's day and age that we cannot generate through whatever source of funds to support the people that are doing the daily work. So I don't have a question, it's a comment, and it does sadden me. It's the fiscal reality, Karen, you're absolutely right. We just don't have the funds right now, but I just want to say to Ralph and every other department head that is struggling, short-staffed or whatever, and the volume of work, how appreciative I am, and I'm sure that everybody on this screen and most people in this town are, for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Al. Absolutely. Gary, I think that's you.
Just to, comment on a couple of things, just to piggyback on what Al just said. The building department has been short-staffed, not for just 3 years, for over a decade, longer than that. And if you think about the land size of Westport and the amount of coverage that has to be done and bore by one person, that's, you could be up towards the Copacut, you could be down towards the beach. I mean, you're talking a lot of area, and
64 square miles.
Right. Yeah. And I think we're penny wise and pound foolish, not to get off topic here, but if we had that extra person, if we had an assistant, how much are we not capturing? And I mean, Ralph can only do so much. He can only be so many places, at so many times. And so I think like what Al said, we don't put the effort into where we could produce additional revenues and additional dollars in this town. And it's unfortunate. And I know that Ralph does a great job. His staff does a great job. And it's a big area to cover. It's an enormous area to cover. It's a big town. So I just want to say thanks to Ralph and his staff that go above and beyond.
Thank you, Gary. Does anyone else have any, oops, that was you, Gary. Does anyone else have any other questions for Ralph? No. Well, Ralph, we're still going through the budget process, and
Yep.
And you're
Yep.
Getting you support is definitely on the list of things that we'd like to do. But just again, as everyone just said, thank you for what you do. I can't imagine driving around Westport and seeing the volume of building that we have, and that you're the only person that does it with no backup is, you must have a lot of sleepless and tireless nights, that's for sure.
No, I just do the best I can with it, and I enjoy what I do. I enjoy working for the people of Westport. So it's not it's just a sad fact that you just can't get the help that you need.
Right. Right. Well, thank you for coming tonight. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Nope, that's about it.
All right. Well, I appreciate your coming, and have a good night.
Thank you, Ralph.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So the next budget is our town clerk, and Kristen, you're here.
Hello.
Thank you for being the last on the list. So if you could introduce yourself and talk about your budgets for us.
Sure. I'm Chris Stinson. I am the town clerk and the elections commissioner. So I guess we're going over both budgets. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So for the town clerk's budget, we have a little bit of an increase, almost 4% this year. Most of that is based on some training and such. Most town clerks across the state participate in different programs on a regular basis to stay up to date with all of the laws and regulations. And that hasn't really happened for many, many, many years in the town clerk's office. So I have been interested in doing some of that, not only as a new town clerk, but also just to update systems and processes and make sure that we're in line with all of the regulations. I've made the increase with the assumptions that I would attend particular seminars and programs and that sort of thing. But also if once they announce what's happening, if they end up being really redundant, the same for different things, then I'll take that into consideration as the time comes, obviously. And then the other major increase is in postage, and that is because I will be doing more things online. So that's really what that comes from. I'll be doing more things online. I'll be offering vital records and dog licensing and a variety of things. I'm going to roll them out a little bit at a time, and they will have people paying for postage, but I'm going to have to put postage out. So I need to increase the budget to compensate for that. So that's pretty much it for that. I've removed some things that were in there that weren't really being used, like buyback and longevity pay, that sort of thing, because it's not relevant for the assistant town clerk for a while. We have a few more years before that's relevant, so I'll have to reintroduce that later. But she just started in June, so we have a little time. There's no point in having it just sitting there. Yeah, so do you want to ask questions about the town clerk budget before moving on to the elections?
That'd probably be a good idea. Does anyone have any questions for Chris? Cindy, go ahead.
Tell us about the beach permit new process.
The beach permit new process?
Right.
Okay. The beach permits will be done online, and we will be processing them via a program through City Hall systems. And every time we get one, we're just going to print them out, not one. We'll do them in batches, obviously, because we're not being crazy. But we'll print them out in batches. They're actually going to be stickers this year. I've gotten a lot of not awesome feedback about that because everybody likes their tags. But at the same time, stickers are the realistic approach to doing an online program. It's going to save us a lot of man hours, which is really, that's really key here. You know, even if it costs the beach committee more money to do it, ultimately, at the rates that we've been getting beach passes, it's not really realistic for my department to process them anymore by hand. So a lot of it is still similar. We still have to review a lot of the information. We still have to do a lot of the processing on our end, but then ultimately we're just approving. And yeah, that's it. It's going to be confusing for some people. Not everybody's into it. I'm going to do a program at the senior center, a couple workshops at the senior center and at the library. And George over at the library said that he would train his staff to help people as well. So we can direct people there if they're having difficulty or if they don't have the right kind of computer or different things like that. And then ultimately we will offer paper passes if somebody really wants a paper pass, but we won't really be pushing that in any way at all, ever.
Now, when will this become live?
So it was supposed to be live December 15th. So I'm working with City Hall Systems, and it's frustrating, but almost there. So I just actually tonight around 5, I checked my email. I had a demo on there, and it looks like it's right. So because I've had to send it back a few times to them. So it looks like it has everything it needs, and then we'll do our training on our end, how to process everything through us. So I'm hoping by the end of next week, but please don't take that as a promise. Everybody's passes now are valid until the 31st. The police department won't ticket if you have a pink pass. And anybody who calls and asks us about that, we're also letting them know. And I have little, papers when people go to get their beach pass application. That's what there is there instead. So it explains everything. And e-alerts. I'll post it all on e-alerts. So. Yeah.
Good. Well, that's certainly a step in the right direction.
I'm trying, and I'll follow up. I'm gonna follow up with other things as well. But the other ones aren't quite as like vital records or dog licensing. People can come in or do it online once I open that up. Which, like I said, I'm gonna roll them out, so they'll be able to do either. So I don't know. It's not like I'm gonna require everybody to get dog licensing online. The beach passes, it's just doing it 2 different ways for everyone, just ends up creating more work, which is why we're focusing on the online process only there. So.
Great. Chris, I want to follow up on your e-alerts. Can you maybe describe a little bit about the e-alerts? And I know there's always a lot of question about posting meetings and the official places, the elevator, but where, you're posting online and there's e-alerts, then could you maybe talk a little bit about that so people that might be listening can understand what they can do to get information?
Sure. So in our office, we have really been utilizing the e-alerts a significant amount, I believe. There are 2 options for the town clerk under e-alerts. One is under news and announcements. And that's where I'm posting when, let's say, when beach passes are due, or I just posted a candidate's guide for the April election so everybody can see what positions are available and details to that. I'll post when dog licensing is due. There's a lot of things like that. And then under the agendas, if you sign up for town clerk, then you will get every meeting agenda that goes through our office. So they're all required to come to us. So we post them on our calendar, and then separately we post them on the agenda section. So you'll just get a notice saying there's a meeting, which some people really, really want. Some people don't, but that's there. And if they don't want all of the notices, it's all on the website as well. So we have the elevator posting, but we always post in 2 places. We post online, on the website, and there. Every single posting that comes through our office. So those are the 2 different types that you can get for the town clerks. And I would highly encourage the town people to sign up for the news and announcements too, because there's, everybody wants to know right now who's pulled papers for different things, and that's all under there right now too. So I'm not posting it every time somebody adds it, but I did send out a link to show people how they can access that information on my webpage. I'm trying, or on my part of the webpage. I'm trying to really keep it very up to date and provide a lot of information that was not provided there previously.
So people can access that by going right to the town website. And is
Yes,
it
on
right
the
on the homepage? Right on the
Yeah.
homepage? It said
On the
sign up for e-alert.
homepage, right at the middle, one of the blue buttons down at the bottom of the homepage, it says sign up for e-alerts. You can click everything if you want, but I can't tell you what other departments are or are not sending. And you might also get some redundant posting as well. Like some people might be posting their agendas, and then I also send the agendas. But I don't know what they do. I didn't sign up for their alerts.
Right. That's a little bit of the confusing part because, for example, the finance committee, our recording clerk posts on, so it's a separate e-alert if you want the finance committee. If someone just signs up for the town clerk e-alerts, they're not going to get the finance committee one. So maybe.
Well, they will get the finance. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay. No. Please do. Please help explain.
If you like the finance agenda meetings, you will still get them. So they'll just get them twice. So every single meeting we post, but what we do not post are minutes. So if anybody is looking for minutes or want e-alerts about minutes from different departments, like I said, I don't know if they send them out via e-alerts, but I don't send any minutes out, only agendas. So.
Great. Thank you. I just wanted to just let everyone know that there's always people questioning. I didn't know this was a meeting. I didn't know this was happening. And certainly you can go to the elevator to see the posting, but it's certainly more convenient to sign up for the e-alerts and you can get that information. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Does anyone have any more questions on the town clerk's budget before we go into the elections? No. Okay, so you can go right into that one.
Okay, so the elections budget has a larger increase. The increase is based, it's about 9, what is it? Or the whole increase is about 7.56%. If I did my math right, can't promise I did. You guys are the finance committee. But it's close to 8%. And mostly that is because we have a staff member who is hitting her 15-year mark and she has a significant salary increase. So that salary increase is going to really affect that budget. Otherwise, there is, let's see, all of the non-clerical part-time positions, that sort of thing will be a small increase. And that means poll workers, basically. That's the only non-clerical part-time positions we have. So it's poll workers. We're not seeking to hire part-time help in the elections department or anything like that. And
don't you have a federal election though? Don't you have an extra election this year?
Yeah.
Right. So that's not reflected in the budget though?
No, it's reflected in the budget.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was because it was split. So we had 3 elections last year and 3 elections this year.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it's in there. It's just the way it falls with the fiscal year. That's all. And then let's see. Oh, I'm working on trying to kind of adjust where things are being spent because I don't feel like the breakdown has been very clear in our budget. I think that there have been times where the elections department has been putting them all kind of into one category, and it doesn't really give a true story of where money is being spent. So I'm working on making sure that I don't actually do the bill pay for that department, but I am working on making sure that those payments are put into the right categories. So then it will make a little more sense as we move forward. Like postage, and an example would be postage and printing of things have been combined into just one big section. And because postage is very significant and printing is very significant, for big elections, it's important to kind of break that down and show how that's working. But so far, it's not reflected very well. I'm working on tweaking that, being my first year and making sure I have a good understanding, and this being the first real election season I'm coming into.
Go ahead, Michelle. You have a question?
Thank you. Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
I'm just curious, on the Board of Registrars, how many are there in town?
There are four registrars, me being one of them.
Okay,
Right.
and that includes you. Okay.
Yeah. And we will be, we have one who's finishing up a term. So I'm not sure if she's going to end up being the registrar again this year, but it's an appointment situation. So I'm working on making sure we follow the rules around that right now.
Right. Okay. And you answered that question about the non-clerical. I was going to ask that question.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Great. Does anyone have any other questions on either budget or anything? I don't think so. No hands are being raised, so I think
right.
you answered all our questions. So thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it, and thank you for being patient to be the last one. So thank you so much.
No problem. You have a great night.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that takes care of our department budget meetings for this evening. So the next item on the agenda is just our placeholder. If we have anything we want to talk about on the fiscal 25 budget or the 5-year plan or the capital plan. Does anyone have any follow-ups from our meeting from last week that anyone wanted to talk about, or do we want to, any comments at all on the budget? Al, go ahead.
Sorry, you mentioned the budget, so I'll back off. It was about the CIPC meeting the other day, so I can defer that until afterwards.
No, go ahead. I don't see any other hands up at the moment, so you may as well go ahead.
It was just a quick comment that I thought was very smart, and I know that it was Hugh, I believe, and Cindy that brought up the point that certain departments where they know they have recurring capital expenses should really consider cooking the books into the operating budget, or maybe someplace in between. I think the police vehicles came up as an example, and I just think that is really smart to look at that as more of an operating expense than as this kaboom capital expenditure. So I just, again, one of the wonderful things about COVID is that I had plenty of time to look through all of the YouTubes, and that one stuck out in my mind as something that I think the departments, if not the finance committee, should really consider encouraging, especially the larger departments who have annual recurring expenses, so that I've said my piece. I just think it was a smart move or idea anyway. So.
Thank you. I think one of the things in doing a 5-year capital plan, it's exactly that, right? So if it's 1 police car a year or 2 a year, that should be obvious and on the plan as well. So if for whatever reasons there's, oh, well, we can't afford that police car this year, so let's hold off. Well, you've got to realize, well, you've got to buy one next year too. So now you've got to get 2 next year. And so it helps keep everything in line with a more strategic thinking. But I know some of the things that we've talked about is using some free cash to really start funding a capital reserve, and whether it be specific for a department or just starting to put general dollars in there. I think those are important things to be thinking about with some of the free cash. Go ahead, Hugh, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just going to offer with reference to the police cruisers, they have bounced around as orphans periodically, depending on where the funds were. they have periodically been part of the operating budget. But when money was short in that area, they showed up in the capital account because that was, we were using free cash for the capital. So it wasn't so much a matter of planning as it was to spread them out and to fund them from the source that was best at that year to do that funding.
Thank you. You know, just my only comment really at this point on the budget, and I don't know if everybody's been listening, but the state has been talking quite a bit about the fiscal budget and the fiscal situation for the state. And the state's already discussing fiscal 24 of how they're going to be making some adjustments to their budget, so it won't impact anything else. So they're using some interest in some other reserves. So the news is starting to come out that it might not be a great budget cycle for fiscal 25 from the state standpoint. So it's certainly not going to be prosperous is what it's sounding like. So
The
that's
state has no trouble supporting Biden's illegals.
well, I don't want to get into a political conversation on that. I don't think anybody
What
else
you say is
does.
true. I agree with these things better.
Well, you know how the state determines to spend its money. It's regardless. We fall at the end in how it might affect state aid. So we just need to be cognizant of that. Anything else on the budget from our discussions last week?
I have something, Karen.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't see anybody else's hand.
Oh no, go for
Button
it.
to raise a hand. It's more of just a comment on something that was said last week, and I just want to be clear. I know that I'm very new on this committee, and there is like a lot of information to absorb and a lot of things to learn, and you all have been here for many, many more years than I have, and I don't presume to know any more than anybody else. The private sector is obviously very different than the municipal budget. So I'm absorbing and I'm taking in and asking a lot of questions. And I just want to be clear, and I'm referring to the comment with the fire department and comparing to other departments or other towns, I should say, not other departments, and thinking that we can do something that other towns, can do. And I don't presume to think that after serving, 3.5 years on the school committee, a lot of people compared Westport schools to other towns and all of that. So I certainly understand that you can't do that. So I just want to be clear that, I imagine we're here to ask questions. We're here to learn. We're here to offer suggestions, ideas, think outside the box, which is, I think, what the, town of Westport needs to do in some regards. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I think it's wonderful to ask questions because the question that you have, there's probably someone in the general public sitting at home having the same question and they go, oh, I always wondered about that. So definitely everybody should ask questions and absolutely. So as Hugh had pointed out earlier, he had mentioned something about Hugh, I think you were talking about the CPC, that we all knew about it, but it's great that you took the time to explain it because not everybody does. And so those are the things we need to keep doing, to not just having a conversation amongst ourselves, but helping educate the general public that's listening.
Thank you.
Thank you
I
for
agree.
questions.
And I'll just add, I think that's a very good reason why it's good to have turnover of all committees. I mean, not just, finance committee, but all committees, there should be, turnover because new people generate new ideas, new questions, and many other issues tend to get stale or tend to become, status quo. And so I think that it's always good to have new people with new questions and things that we might take for granted as being more seasoned on a committee. I think always opens up your eyes a little bit when you have new people and you have to look at it through their eyes. And I think that's always a good thing.
Thank you. Gary, I think that's your hand.
Yes, so has Jim Hotnet he's developed the budget already, preliminary, but how far off are we on the budget? What's the variance? I guess I wasn't clear last week.
So, so that's all in our Google Drive, but the budget that Jim presented is essentially break even.
Yeah, right.
But there's many, many unknowns still in terms of health insurance, state aid, the regional school assessments. None of those are known yet. And there's also the placeholder, the 54% calculation is in that budget. So all of that's in there.
So Jim has balanced the budget, but we still haven't heard from the schools as far as what their need is. I mean, I think we know what the need is. I'm just a little concerned that are we going to be again with a big variance this fiscal year for FY25? Well, we don't know that yet, I guess.
Right. Well, we don't know the state aid. So I think once the governor releases that version of the budget, Jim is confident that we'll have a much better handle of the state aid at that point.
Yeah.
But the school number is the big differential because the school, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that's not the dollars that, again, last year, the school received $500,000 of free cash, right, to help balance their budget. So that already starts the school off in a deficit coming into this year.
Yeah.
So when you look at the split of revenue to be shared, they have to cover their deficit first, and then it doesn't leave a tremendous amount of additional dollars for them. So that's a problem with this budget.
Okay,
Karen, also the free cash was certified.
The free cash was certified. Yep.
Yeah.
I think 2.3 million.
So we're still we're still too preliminary to know. Well, on those revenue sources for the state aid and all that, but we can probably assume what we got last year is probably not going to move much. But what does that do to the school budget, or what does the needs for the schools? I guess that's what it comes down to every year.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talked about at the last meeting, that if, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I think the split as Jim had it was $800,000 to $900,000 of revenue that the school would get.
Yeah.
But 500 of that is filling the hole from the deficit of the free cash. So it doesn't leave a tremendous amount of new dollars for the school.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so I think Jim at the select board meeting last night talked a little bit about free cash, and his rough estimates were, I think the capital needs could be, and they haven't voted on anything, but around, say, $1 million of capital needs that they'd spend free cash on. And then he thought potentially $400,000 to $500,000, I think, on other warrant articles in the warrant. And so that already consumes quite a bit of free cash.
Yeah.
And then, that's the question, how much, if at all, free cash is used to supplement the operating budget? Because we know it just keeps coming up as a bigger and bigger problem. At some point, this budget has to adjust itself in a way that isn't relying on free cash.
Well, even more so now because the override wasn't
Right.
voted on. So that was the point I was trying to make last week was, now that the override has failed, what do we do with what's the plan? I mean, we can't keep on supplementing the budgets with free cash because, like you said, it's just going to get worse. And now even more because there's no relief on the horizon with an override.
Right. Right. The only other relief is if the school demonstrates that it needs funds, then other departments would have to be cut, and I don't know who can identify what that would be, and how much dollars would be appropriate for it. I mean, there's just, the departments just don't have big dollars that can be cut. So
Do we use school transportation funds? Excuse me, school choice.
I think so.
Well, it comes under the assessment on the cherry sheet.
So we have school choice funds. Are that used to balance, is that used for the budget in the schools? I'm just curious.
It's just used as part of our state aid revenue.
Okay.
The schools receive more than what is received by the state from a combination of Chapter 70 and other, school choice options or other revenue enhancements that would come through the cherry sheet. So there are some communities that receive only the amount that comes through on the cherry sheet that's allocated towards education. But I forgot what percentage we are. There's a certain percentage that you should be at or above in reimbursing education, given that you're receiving that amount of money from the state. But it comes in just as one chunk, and it's offset by other payments that go out by the schools. For school choice going out and charter school payments, et cetera. So it's just a function of that.
Yeah, Nicole just said that school choice goes right to the schools, and then the school department and the school committee is the one who decides how school choice is to be used. It's not the town that decides. It's the school committee that decides that. So I'd be just curious how much is in school choice, what the balances are.
Well, we'll be seeing the school come in to present their budget on, I think, February 6th, and we can certainly ask that question then, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, thank you. Did I see someone else's hand up? Al, go ahead.
Karen, I think that Hugh was before me, so I'll defer to him.
Okay.
No, I don't have anything to add at this point.
Okay, then I'll just briefly say that there was one section of the meeting with the school committee, the select board, and finance committee last night or the night before, I can't remember, that I really hope that we don't go down the rabbit hole, which is Chair Stanton Cross suggested the idea of adjusting the formula for school and call it town allocation. And I think her words were, and I'm not trying to put words in her mouth, but I'm just trying to recollect. It could be a one-time formula change and whatever. I think all of us know that there's no, in business or otherwise, there's no such thing as a one-time change. Once a change happens, it gets cooked into the books, and even a change doesn't fundamentally, alter the long-term deficit that the school would have versus the town. So I'm just making it's a comment. It's not really for a lot of discussion, but I just don't believe that is the proper way for us to address the financial situation that we are in. So that's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Al. Yeah, it's the same cliche, right? There's a pie, and you slice up the pie. From the school gets 54% of the pie, and the town gets the 46%. So, however justification that would be used to increase the school's slice of the pie means that the town slice is smaller, right? So if that's the case, what part of the town loses funds, right? So it's not as simple as just adjusting more to one department. That means someone else gets less. And we never want to talk about that gets less, right? So where does the dollars come from and who gets cut in order for another department to get more? And I agree. I don't think it makes sense to change a formula. It's just dollars that are just being shifted around.
And sorry, I just forgot to mention that both Nancy Stanton Cross and Tom made a very compelling argument why this is such a moving target. Unfortunately, as I read it, the moving target is based upon state regulations, laws, whatever it might be. And yes, there's things coming over the transom at the school department that are completely unexpected, completely, you can't plan for it. I get all of that, but it's still, for this committee comes down, it's not a sympathetic thing because I have deep sympathy for their predicament, but we have a whole town to think about, and we have a whole town to look at the sources of revenue and uses of revenue. And I just, it may be an untenuous position, but it's certainly something that while there's empathy for the position, it has to be regulated and balanced so that everybody, does the best that they can. And, I won't say win, that's a bad term, but at least are able to operate. So that's all. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll say I agree with Albert, but I think, to be fair, the schools are acting as advocates for the school system, which means they don't care much in the presentation about the needs of others because they're advocating for their own position. But we're not a referee, but we are in the position of thinking about the needs across the board. It includes the schools, it includes police and fire, etc. And as you keep pointing out, Karen, perfectly accurately, there's a finite amount, and all we can do is allocate what we have. If you give more to one side, you take it from the other. There's no other answer. And I don't think it's time to open that can of worms.
Thank you, Hugh. If nothing else, anything else, we can move on to the next item on the agenda quickly. Does anyone else have anything else they wanted to add on the budget? Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is committee and liaison updates. Does anyone have anything to add? Cindy, go ahead.
So CIPC, the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, we are meeting Thursday, and I believe that is when we're going to take the vote. We did meet again last week to go through review the list one last time, and I believe Thursday we're going to try to take the final vote. There is a 5-year plan in place, so we'll see how that goes. I think someone mentioned the figure of Karen. You mentioned the figure of $1 million. It's just about $1 million that we have earmarked, but none of that is official until we vote. So we'll see what happens after that. Many departments gave good, compelling reasons why they need additional funding for capital expenses, but we'll see what we can do, how far we can stretch it.
Thank you. On my ride home tonight from Providence, I tuned in and listened to the select board meeting from last night. So that's where I got that information. So.
Okay.
Jim presented it all last night.
Well, the CIPC meeting would be on YouTube. I know that Valerie had some backups on getting things posted to YouTube, but certainly we went through the list, and certainly that's all public information of the items that were submitted.
Great. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any other committee updates
minor update, Karen.
Sure.
As I mentioned earlier, I attended the swearing in last night. Chris Dunn is the new chief of police. Keith Pelliger has retired. Chris is now the official chief. Good turnout at the police station. I think they're as well received, and he and I will be meeting shortly to take another look at their budget, which is coming up shortly, but I don't think there's any surprises in it.
Great, great, thank you.
On that same note, I'll just add to what you said. The Chief Dunn is coming before the Personnel Board tomorrow night to get approval for the new job description for his deputy chief, because as you may be aware, the deputy chief also retired on the same date that the chief did. So he is right now without a deputy chief, and he wants to fill that as soon as possible for obvious reasons. So we're going to try to expedite that. The select board approved the job description last evening. It's coming to the personnel board tomorrow, and hopefully he'd like to get the job posted by Thursday if it meets with the approval of the personnel board tomorrow.
Great, thank you. All right, so if no other committee, we can, we have 2 minutes to approve. We have the minutes of January 2nd, 2024. Has anyone had a chance to review those if we want to approve those tonight?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of January 2nd.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or comment on them? Nope. Okay, I'll do a roll call. Gary,
Yes.
Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Cindy,
Cindy Brown, aye.
Zach.
I wasn't there, but I did review the minutes, so aye.
Okay, thank you. Michelle,
Yep, I'm Michelle Orlando.
thank you. Christopher,
Aye, Christopher Thrasher.
Al,
Al Lee is aye.
and Karen Rouse, aye. Thank you for those minutes. And then we have minutes of January 3rd, 2024. And that was with the joint meeting with the select board and members of the school committee.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. Yeah.
Thank you. Any comments on the minutes? Nope, I will do a roll call. Gary,
Yes.
thank you. Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Cindy,
Cindy Brown, aye.
thank you. Zach,
Aye.
Michelle,
Michelle Orlando, aye.
Christopher,
Christopher Thrasher, aye.
Al,
Al Lee's aye.
and Karen Rouse, aye. Thank you. Here we go. Next week, next Tuesday, the 9th, we rinse and repeat. We do this again. And more department meetings. So that's our next meeting. Same topics as of right now on this, unless someone has anything else they'd like to add. Go ahead, Cindy.
I do. I
Sure.
do. I'd like to make sure that everyone is aware that Christopher has joined the ranks of a sleepless parent. He is the proud daddy of a little girl. Let me see if I get the name right. Is it Emily? Emmeline?
Emmeline. Yes,
Right,
indeed.
Emmeline. Right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm actually in the hospital waiting area right now, about to go back
Oh.
back into the
Oh my
room.
goodness.
So, yes, indeed.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I don't know if anybody else had seen this, but yesterday was actually also my birthday, so I got the best birthday present ever yesterday.
Oh, that's great.
So, yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
And you're a girl dad, and girl dads are just great. So that's great.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Well, first of all, I just want to say congratulations, Christopher. I wasn't aware of that. And the only other thing that I think is ironic is that the older we get, Thursdays used to be date night. Now we have Tuesdays, which is date night for the finance committee. So anyway, we'll see everybody a week from now.
Great. Thank you. And if nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right. Gary.
Yes.
Hugh.
Hugh Morton, aye.
Cindy.
Cindy Brown, aye.
Thank you. Zach.
Aye.
Thank you. Michelle?
Michelle Orlando, aye.
Thank you. Christopher?
Christopher Thrasher, aye.
Thank you. Al?
Al Lee's aye.
Thank you. Karen Ralph's aye. Good night. See you next week.